a letter to the U.S. government. Dear U.S. government, on February 14th, 2018, a suspended student took an Uber to a high school. He took his rifle out of his case and he shot in classrooms. He then dropped his AR-15 on the ground, he dropped the vest he was wearing on the ground, and he went into a Walmart. At the Walmart, he bought a drink from a Subway and he carried his wonderful journey onto a McDonald's. When he came outside the McDonald's, he was taken into police custody without incident. 17 lives were taken at an educational facility. 18 shootings have occurred in 2018 at educational facilities. Educators School Safety Network states that they get about 50 threats a day after the shooting at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School towards educational facilities. It is in our campuses and our buildings that we go to learn from the age of 3 to whenever we want to end that we live with the fear of homicide. Sure, you may say that we live with that fear anywhere else in that world, but I believe you can control it in some places. On March 13th, 2018, I asked around to the students that say they'll be the President of the United States. I asked about this so-called school walkout and how it was going to go at Lambert High School. Most of them responded a while later saying, "We do not want to get suspended, therefore we will not take the initiative and arrange one." So I made a small poster, very small, saying we will assemble at 9:50 and we will walk to the front of the school at 10, which was the national walkout time. And I sent it to everybody on my Snapchat list. I didn't think anybody was going to read it. I didn't think anybody was going to care. The punishments were so vague, we never knew if this was allowed or not. They read it. They put it on their social medias. They put it on their Snapchat stories. And somebody reached out to me and they asked, "Aren't you afraid of getting suspended?" And I said, "No. The whole nation is doing it. Lambert has to join in too. But what I am scared of is that no one's going to show up." On March 14th, 2018, I grabbed my lunchbox and I grabbed my backpack and I was right about to go outside the door when my teacher yelled, "It is 9:45. If you leave before this walkout that I do not endorse, I will take that into consideration when I look at your hospital internships next year." I've been working 3 years to get that. But I was so motivated, I was like, "You can do whatever you want." My 3 friends, they grabbed me and they sat me down. One of them saying how 10 o'clock would be fine to leave, the other saying how she'll yell and gather everyone together, and the third one actually blasted Punjabi music into her earphones and put them into my ears so I would sit down and be quiet. I looked at the clock, it hit 9:50. This was the time I told everybody to assemble. They kept me down. I checked the clock again, it hit 9:55, I couldn't take it anymore. I pushed them away, I grabbed my stuff, and the teacher saw me, she sighed and said, "Just go." And I ran outside the classroom. I could hear one of my classmates say, "Bye, y'all. Have fun skipping class." I didn't care. I was like Usain Bolt. I ran down the stairs, straight out the door, into the trailers. I found my friend. I literally threw my lunchbox and my backpack at her feet. I ran across the field again and lounged at the bench. One motion, just on top of the bench. Now, there were those 2 to 3 seconds, I had no idea what I was doing. I was scared. I was on top of everybody, I was elevated, so I could see the whole field. It was full, not with the 15 to 20 people I thought that would come. 100 to 150 were there. Somehow we got everybody's attention. We told them this was a respectful and peaceful protest. And we started to walk. We walked around the school, and at one point my friend said, "You want to see something incredible?" And I nodded. And he said, "Look back." And I looked back, and my eyes, they swelled with tears. I could not see the end of the line, and everyone was silent in unity. We walked to the front of the school, and we gathered around our amazing, beautiful flag. The administrators were with us. They were clearing the path, some of them taking out their phones and recording it. We read the names of the Columbine, the Sandy Hook, and the Parkland victims, and we ended with the never again chant. The silence at that moment was so powerful, it was awing. The term silence is violence was countered in mere seconds as we ended with that chant. We vowed this would never happen again. I am not saying ban guns. There are more guns in this nation than people themselves. I believe in the Second Amendment, but I also believe in logic. I learned in U.S. history that the United States government tried to ban alcohol once. Al Capone and many other bootleggers came out of that. They tried to ban drugs. We have drug dealers in our own educational facility. How's that going? Some like to compare us to Australia, a country built by prisoners that has nearly 100% literacy rate. They banned guns after their first mass shooting, but what people don't know is 10 years later, Amnesty Day came and 50,000 guns were turned in, and I doubt those were the only guns in households. Some say it's all on mental illness. Guns have nothing to do with it. But the harder access to these mental facilities is the reason these mass shootings occur. I have a question to ask you. Would Nicholas Cruz have harmed 17 people in a building with 2,000 others with a knife? Who knows? There are places in this nation someone can go to their neighbor's house and get a gun. Places in this nation where people who need the medicine they need to live, it is harder to obtain than a gun. Places where 18-year-olds can go into shops and buy a gun as though they were buying a pack of gum. Places where mental illness facilities are harder to access than gun shops. I believe that a weapon like a gun and an unstable person, when they are combined, the chaos has erupted. I do not think it is one over the other. We have organizations and unions larger than the NRA that fund the government. But the NRA has been under fire for a while because they have been directly correlated with these guns. Putting money into the pockets of politicians to hush them, to innovate them, to not change these laws. I get it. One who wants to kill will kill. But I cannot just stand here and say nothing will change. If you talk about walls, how about you build one between mental illness and guns? Because if you won't, students will. We heard it after Aurora. We heard it after Arizona. We heard it after Sandy Hook. We hear it after Parkland. That mental illness is apparently the sole and only root of this epidemic. So let's get our facts right straight away. Number one, people suffering a mental illness are more likely to be victims of mass shootings than perpetrators. So why armor? Number two, a study with 235 mass shootings took place. Only 22% of them were done by a person diagnosed with a mental illness. Number three, if you really believe that mental illness is the sole and only cause of these mass shootings, then I have a question for my conservative politicians. Why did you spend a year trying to gut the single largest payer of mental health care in our nation? You tried to cut $800 billion from the Bedrock program that gives access to millions of Americans to the mental health care they require. This epidemic kills about 100 people per day in our nation. 1,300 children lose their lives per year by a hand of a gun. We can do it, but our government refuses to. It does not matter if you are Democratic or Republican, if you're male or female, black, brown, white, gun owners or not, you are against school shootings. We have gotten to the point that we look at our children, we have put the burden on the shoulders of high school students. And it will come to a point when we look at them and we wonder, why am I looking at you to make up for the lack of the responsibility of our government? Call for better mental health institutions. I get it, do it. It should be easier to access them. Call for the raise of gun control. You should be older to buy a gun. It takes 21 years, supposedly, to develop a full brain function. So why 18? Make it harder for people that have terrible backgrounds. I'm sick and tired of giving the NRA the power over our people. They say it so much that it's the campaign contributions that caused this. There are 5 million members of the NRA. There are 320 million people in this nation. That is not to build them up to the giants they are not. These 5 million people have been counterbalanced with these 320 million that believe that your child should go to school and you shouldn't worry about whether they come home safe or not. It does not matter where you stand. You stand against school shootings. It is our responsibility. I'm not abrogating or derogating this onto somebody else. I believe we have the responsibility, U.S. government. We have it, and we will do it. If one generation could not, the second will. This is places that we go for our education. So I'm asking you to please do anything that you can. Sincerely, Simran Malhotra. Thank you.